Hello and welcome to Transformation Now. Hi, I'm Rita Rocker with SoaringHigher.Rocks, and my purpose and desire is to have hope, help, humor, and heart in the personal and professional development programs that I provide. And today I'm going to switch books, and I'm going to be going over the leadership guide for Hope at the End of Your Rope, Steps to Rebuild Your Life. And I know many people right now need steps to rebuild their lives in some ways or other. And it could be from when you were young until maybe the last 2 years when things have been a little crazy. So what I'm going to do is start with Hope at the End of the Rope, start with the beginning of the book. And the first chapter is Soaring Up to Wholeness. And I love a picture that shows a phoenix rising, and phoenix is a mythical bird that had a bad fall and was kind of burned to ashes, and yet this phoenix rose up and soared. And that's what my hope and my help is, for people to really rise and soar no matter what you've been through in your life. And so you have the power in you to be revived and restored, and also to release in what maybe has held you down, and then to rebuild your life. And so always think about that. God really is the true architect of your life. So what are you building? Think about, gee, what have I been building all my life? What am I building now? Because what we build now will be reflected down the road, because we will always reap what we sowed earlier in life. So think about that. So in Soaring Up to Wholeness, it's time to get out of the cocoon that maybe you felt like you've been in. I know a lot of us have. Grab your personal rope and take flight. Now we think of a rope. What is a rope? Well, it has several cords. It could be jute, it could be something from trees, it could be wire, it could be plastic. But if you think of a rope with just one strand, which would be considered like who we are, one strand, it's not very strong a lot of times, is it? And so we need that synergy, winding around with other people, other activities, other things, in order to really have a strong rope. We pull ourselves up and get back in the race. And so that is so very, very important. I remember one time when I spoke to a large women's conference. It was a Christian women's conference, and it was like a month after my husband had died, and I was still the current Mrs. Nebraska at the time. And when I finished, two ladies came up to me afterwards, and they said, well, your message wasn't anything that we expected it to be. And I said, well, what were you expecting? And they said, oh, talking about all the things that you experienced. Well, my experience that year was pretty tough. And so I was thinking, no, my purpose is to help people get back up, dust their knees off, get back in the race, and provide the inspirational and educational programs and helps to help them to do that. And I've experienced just about everything in my own life, so I certainly understand that. And so think about that. Rope has amazing strength, amazing ability, and it will help to raise you up to new heights. But in order to do that, really, we have to find our rope. What all is in our rope, okay? First of all, for me, it's God. He is my strength. He is my rope. If it wasn't for him, I really don't think I would be here anymore. And people. Who are the people in your life that you can help build that rope for you to bring you up and out of a situation that you might be in? Okay, again, it's the positive people. Pray for the right people to come into your life. Every time my life has made a major switch, I've prayed for someone or people to come into my life that would really help be part of that rope. And God is always faithful to do that. Okay, life and career building organizations. Even if it's like you just need to get out, you just need to be with people now, you need to feel some love. Well, one of the best places to do that would actually be at a humane society, because those babies, those little fur babies, they're going to love you a lot. And a lot of times there's just comfort in that. It could be an organization, it could be one that's helping youth, or elderly, or anybody, but think of an organization that you could latch into, where you could use your gifts and your talents and really be able to get involved in that. And you're learning skills and how to communicate with people. You're learning skills that you could use on a job by getting involved with life and career building organizations. So pray about that, think about that, look up some things that would be interesting to you on YouTube or Google, and see how you can get involved with that. Because as you build relationships and friendships and partnerships with people in those organizations, they can become part of your rope to help pull you up. Okay, then there could be churches, like my church has a counseling center that people who don't even go there could participate in when they need help. They need to sort through things in life and figure out what's going on. Okay, so you can do that too, but always think of that synergy. We don't want to be a loner and think, well, you know what, I'm just done being with people, working with people. No, we need the synergy of others to be in our lives as well. So your power is in your ability to respond to those situations, to those changes. And yes, there's a time to just sit back and rest and regroup. Okay, we need that, but we don't want to stay there forever. So that is our responsibility in responding and thinking, you know what, okay, this week I'm going to start looking at classes I could take. Maybe next week I'll actually try to communicate with someone in some sort of organization or group. I'll check out something where I could be a help to other people, because as you're a help to other people, that will build you up and that will give you new connections to maybe a new family, so to speak. And I understand that very well. Okay, so let your spiritual muscles become stronger. That is so important, and be a source. Again, like the phoenix rising up. So again, we have our, you think, well, when am I going to have time to do that? Because I have a busy job, I have a family, I have kids, I have this and that responsibility. Maybe I have to participate in some caregiving as well. And so when am I going to do that? Well, if it means locking yourself in the bathroom to start making some plans, or sitting in your car to start making some plans where you have quiet, or even sometimes it might be just, okay, you went to bed, the house is quiet now, and start thinking and visualizing the things that you want to do and the things you want to get away from. So we can let our spiritual muscles grow, but we have to focus on it and we have to concentrate on it. So God can and will establish your steps if you ask him to. I went through a lot of really tough things recently, and so I've been doing the same thing, asking him to really organize and set my steps ahead of me so that I stay on the right track. And so think about that. The path that you've gone down during your life, again, and how the choices you've made before are what's impacting where you are right now. And so if it's not where you want to be, then that's the time to really start thinking and moving on those steps to go forward. And what are some of the, it could be guilt. Feel guilty for decisions you made. A lot of times if we lost a loved one, even if we were good, faithful, caring, it's amazing how sometimes guilt can come up. Oh, I wish I would have done that. I should have done this. And no, that's just guilt trying to keep us down, keep us sad, and not going forward like we need to. So we don't want any of that to confirm or affirm that we are no good. Maybe growing up poor, unhappy, and in want, and or maybe been growing up wealthy. I've read more than once that a lot of the wealthiest people in this world are actually very unhappy or sad. And so money isn't the cure-all to everything in life. Sometimes the people that give the most, that are the most amazing in providing for other people. And I've had this experience myself when I was in need, or even trying to help someone else in need. A lot of times the ones who give the most and have the most profound effect on others are the ones who are needy or who have been through needs. They know what it feels like, so they're going to go out and help other people who they understand where they're coming from. And so think about that no matter where you are in life. Things that can happen when we're small, something can affect us. And so, I felt unworthy from the time I was 5, and that affected me in school, and affected sometimes how teachers even responded to me, because I think I was a little too shy and feeling too down on myself. And how we treat ourselves is how other people will treat us. So think about that as well. And so I remember in third grade, I had a teacher who, I don't know, for some reason, I was really quiet and I did everything I should, but she just didn't seem to like me very well. And so even my dad had to, which we didn't have a very good relationship, but he came up one day on a break and sat in the back of the room and see what was going on. And then I took my SAT test and I scored a 97 on it. And from that on, the teacher turned around and treated me the way she should have in the first place. So, sometimes we just have to grapple with those things and move forward no matter what someone has said or someone has done to us in the past. And so, the adversity that knocked the wind out of your sails, all right? Think about that. What is that adversity maybe that knocked the wind out of your sails? It could be an illness that you have experienced or a loved one has experienced that really knocked the wind out of your sails. Sometimes people become caregivers, and that's very hard when they had a different thought for their life. I've seen veterans who, I know one was named Dave, I'm trying to remember his last name, and he was just pretty much burned to a crisp with part of his fingers burned off in Vietnam, and his wife is still with him, stayed with him through all the surgeries and everything that happened to him. And so that horrible thing did not, he overcame it because of her love. There are other veterans that I've seen whose partners and families stayed with them, which is what we should do. And so sometimes, though, with an illness, if we were left or deserted, that can actually cause a person to have the wind knocked out of their sails. And so think about that, and we always need to show love to those who have really suffered and gone through a lot. Could be death of a loved one, and because of that, there's that feeling of emptiness and loneliness. And when my late husband died during my term as Mrs. Nebraska, I remember thinking, okay, just reading my Bible and that new things would come, and I went, yeah, right, and I threw my Bible across the room. And I knew that God really loved me and he wasn't mad at me, but sometimes, we just get those feelings of really being down and out. It's something that has happened to us. And so there again, the wind might get knocked out of our sails, but we get back up and we move forward because God's not done with you yet as long as you're here. Okay, a lot of us have been betrayed by someone, and a betrayal can knock the wind out of someone's sails. And one of the things I think of is to not let that totally destroy and defeat us, because a lot of times that can. And I remember when I worked for a weight loss company and I was in another city, and a woman came in and she was really struggling with it. She said, my husband divorced me, he's now with this other woman, and I'm really fighting to get this weight off because I'm so miserable, I'm so sad. And I know that probably makes him even more happy that he divorced me and found this other woman. And I said, you know what? You need to think the opposite of that. And that you care enough about yourself, that your self-esteem is raised now high, and show him by how you take care of yourself, what you're doing with your life, your new activities, your new you, that you're okay. And so that kind of knocked the betrayal down, because she realized then that she really had a lot in her own to offer. And she was not going to let that hurt her or destroy her anymore, but she was going to get up and move forward and go for a new life. And I was so happy for her when she really realized, don't let that control you anymore. You take a hold of the reins and you get back in there and build up your own life and live it again. Find a new person, find a new life, find new friends, whatever you need to do. And that happens all the time to people. Sometimes it's just a matter of constant small stuff, constant bickering or negative comments that someone makes. And in itself, okay, whatever, you might think, but they can build up to a point where you just kind of go, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, I must be a loser because I keep hearing this all the time. Okay, again, we allow that to take root or we boot it out. And I can remember, a time that when my late husband at the time was very sick, dying with cancer, and so the church had us a little air flight to City of Faith Hospital that used to be in Oklahoma, in Tulsa. And I kept thinking, okay, I'm in this room for 6 weeks with him. I don't have a hotel room. I'm just kind of sleeping on a little thing in the room. And I felt like I had been deserted by God and everybody else. And then I realized, you know what? No, this too shall pass. Everything must pass. So when you get into a point where you just feel so down and out, remember, this too shall pass. Sometimes I've seen stories where people, especially probably more teenagers and young adults, committed suicide because their partner broke up with them and it broke their heart so badly that they just ended their life. And I think how sad, because again, this too shall pass. A lot of times that happens because there's a better person, a better suited person down the line waiting. And so we never want to let something that we're going through at the time determine the rest of our life, because that too shall pass. It will. It honestly does. I know for a fact. Okay, so ask God to fill or replace such a powerful energy in your wind, to put wind in your sails and get back going on. And so think about that, and any jobs that you've had and relationships, what's happened at home, maybe attitudes. And so think about that. Sometimes it's a matter of, I need to forgive myself. I need to forgive a parent, a teacher, a sibling, a friend. And so a lot of times that's something we need to do before we can actually fill up our wings, fill up our lungs again, because sometimes we are so down, or we're so angry, or we have all these issues that are keeping us actually from being able to go forward. And so think about that, and think about that. A lot of times it's a matter of forgiveness. And I know when I've had that happen because of some of the trauma that I've gone through, it's like the Lord showed me one time. He said, ask me to forgive her or him through you. And I said, okay, God, I know I need to forgive this person in order to go on with my life, really, because it was holding me back. And I said, I don't know how to do it. And that's when I heard him say to me, ask me to forgive. The first one was her, through you. So I said, Lord, would you please forgive her through me? Because I don't have the ability to do it on my own. But I ask you to forgive her through me. And although I hadn't seen her in a few years, guess what? 2 weeks later, I run into her. So I knew that was a divine encounter. And it was okay. Everything was fine. It was all forgiven because I asked God to do it through me. You know, sometimes when we're really hard on ourselves, the most important thing we need to do is say, Lord, please help me to forgive myself. Let me see myself through your eyes. Or let me see this person who hurt me so badly through your eyes. And it's amazing if you sincerely ask that he will show you something so much different about you or about the other person or the situations. And even if they did really bad things, it's like, okay, I understand, but it's all cleared out. I no longer am carrying that anger, that fear, that resentment, that hurt. And it's lifted from you if you just do that. So I would really encourage you to do that. And so, you know, we all have longings in our hearts, a tugging, and we're not really sure how to satisfy those longings because maybe we're in such a place that it's like, well, how would I get from here to there? I don't really know. I mean, is this impossible? But I have heard so many testimonies over the years of people without arms, without legs, people who were pretty much burned to a crisp, people who went through devastating, horrific abuse. And when they got to the other end, very successful, very wealthy, very happy, very strong. And so no matter if there's something still tugging at your heart, something you want to do, someplace you want to be, or someone you want to be with, don't think it's impossible, because it's not. I've seen so many testimonies, and sometimes if you just need a cheer, just Google a particular thing and particular topic and get testimonies from people who have been there and done that. I love those. And I totally respect and really admire and love when people with a lot of degrees behind their name can teach me and train me on things. But what hits my heart the most and my mind is actually being able to hear people who've been there that have a testimony, and you're going, oh my gosh, how did you do this? How did you get to where you are now from where you were? Those are the kind that are really powerful and will really encourage you. And I have plenty of stories myself that I could share with you. So anyway, visualize that. See yourself doing it, even if it's when you've gotten in bed at night, maybe your brain's a little fried, but everything's quiet, and lay there before you go to sleep and just visualize yourself going through these steps, yourself being on the other side. Sometimes people say, well, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have one step in front of the other. You don't have to have the picture of the whole thing, just this next step in front of you. And sometimes that's all we need. We need to take that step before we're able and equipped to take the next step towards our goal, towards our heart's desire. And then other people that are very successful have said, they said, visualize in your mind the end result. Where do you want to be in the end? Is it a successful business? Are you a great sports person? Are you a musician that's playing on stage? You visualize that, and then you go backwards. What was the step right before you got there? And you go backwards to where you are now. So depending on how comfortable you are, sometimes it's just, God, give me the next step. This is where I want to be. I want to be a singer. I want to be on stage. I want to be a professional baseball player. I want to be an engineer, whatever the case may be. And just, what's the next step? And you know kind of what the steps are. Or put your ultimate goal, and then you can work backwards from there. And a lot of people say that's been very, very helpful for them to be the successful person that they are now. So think about that too. And so think about that longing, visualizing, doing it, and experiencing it. People that are very successful say you have to literally feel yourself experiencing that, seeing that in your mind, you actually experiencing that. Okay? Proverbs 29:18 tells that without a vision, the people perish. So instead of living day to day, we have to have a vision of where we're going to go, what we want to be, what we need to do to get there. Another one saying is, he who aims at nothing shall surely hit it every time. Okay, so if we aim at nothing, we have nothing to go towards or to hit. And so think about that too, and how important it is not to just live day to day, but to really go forward thinking about what you want to do. What is your ultimate goal? What is your purpose on this life? In this life. Okay, and so ask God what his special plans are for you, because sometimes what we want to do is not what he has planned for us. And if we go the route of what he has planned for us, it will be anointed, you will be appointed, and it will be a real blessing. So I would encourage you, no matter where you are in life, no matter what your relationship is with him, ask him, where do you want me to go? Because I've said, I will go where you want, I will do what you want, but you need to do it. And so I'm in that process now. And so think about that. And sometimes our plans are different, but he can change our hearts so that we go that direction, and it's anointed by him. We have the power, we have the strength. He brings us the connections and everything we need, the finances maybe to build a business, whatever it is, will be brought to you if you follow his plan, okay? So think about that, where he's equipping you, whether it's in jobs, experiences, actual training that you might need, steps to a higher purpose in life, whatever the case may be. All righty, and so as you have, so ask yourself then, have I sabotaged myself through fear? Well, fear can be an acronym. False evidence appears real. Okay, that's what a lot of people use that as fear, as false evidence appears real. Because there can be all kinds of things that come up that cause fear in our lives, but yet it's like, no, that is false evidence. It's not who I am. Okay, so I like that definition. So have you sabotaged your efforts out of fear? I've sabotaged efforts all through my life out of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of abandonment, whatever the case may be. Fear of not matching up to someone else's education, their money, etc. That will hold us back, so you don't want to do that. So take time to think about your actions and behaviors that have come about because of fear, because those are things we have to get rid of before we can move forward and have our heart's desire. So failure, rejection, abandonment, like I said, sometimes it's like, you know what, I just need to quit. I've tried this for a month. I've tried this for a while. It's not working. and I don't want to try anymore. It's too overwhelming. So I'm just going to go back to my life the way it's been, because that's familiar. So many times we're afraid to move beyond what's familiar. Okay, we don't want to do that anymore. We step out in excitement. All right, so think of, well, I can't do this. I mean, I tried before, I can't. I can't try to measure up to this person and that person. Oh, yes, you can. Yes, you can, because you are his, and he's all powerful, can do anything he wants. I won't do this. I won't experience this anymore. I won't even try. Sometimes people have been hurt enough that they refuse to be vulnerable anymore, and they put a wall up so nobody can get in. I've seen that happen a lot with people. It's like, oh, there's this wall up now. Nobody's going to come near me because I will not be vulnerable anymore. We can't do that either, okay? Because then we don't have that synergy, that rope. We're all alone, and that hurts. All right, and the last one is, has someone else sabotaged you out of their fears? All right, so if someone else has sabotaged you in some way out of their fears of losing you, of you becoming wealthy and them staying poor, etc., no. You go forward. No one has the right to influence or affect our lives like that. So you go forward. You're made strong. You are strong. And I wish you all the best, and I'll continue this on the next program. So be blessed, and see you soon.